So my name is Julie Wallace, and I was going to go ahead and talk about what creative process that I chose for this midterm project. I chose process one, which was cultivating the practice of loving kindness and equanimity towards self and others as foundational to the creative consciousness as a part of our class. Uh, First off, would like to say that caring is a foundation to nursing and should be an intrinsic trait we all possess. And I truly believe that if we don't have caring, our job in nursing would be quite challenging. As a nurse, Watson states that nurses often become pained and worn down by trying to always care, give, and be there for others without attaining to the loving care need for self. So this is something that we are definitely at risk for, that we don't care enough about ourselves. So we need to be aware of our self-care, and we also need to be aware of how we care for others. If we are aware of our self-care, then we are able to provide care for others in the same way. One of the things that Watson talked about was the energetic field of the Cretas. And I imagine that being our presence. Um, Basically, when I walk into a room and I see a patient, I have an energetic field that I am throwing out there to whoever am around. And that is my presence that I put out there, and it is confined to physical boundaries, and it also is confined to other people in the room. And those are what I imagine the energetic field of the Caritas is. So, daily care. Watson discussed four elements of this. We have care in the beginning, care in the middle, caring in the end, and caring continuing throughout our work. When I think about care in the beginning, I think about what do I do to prepare for my day? What am I thinking about? Am I nourishing myself well? And when I come and show up to work, am I conscious about the person that I'm getting a report from? And this is part of caring in the beginning. Throughout the day during my shift, there are moments when I could implement caring elements, such as when I find myself frazzled or something, I need to come back and get realigned. I can take care of myself during my lunch breaks, get the nourishment that I need. And then there's also the caring at the end of the shift. So how are we caring when we are getting report or giving report to the night shift? What are the reflections that we're having of our day? Those three things are stuff that we deal with throughout our 12-hour shift. And then as we go on in our work, or if we when we go home, we continue that care. Did I care today? Did I care enough for my patients? Where can I care more? Where can I improve? So in the practice of uh, this creative process, Watson discussed about the practice of gratitude and forgiveness. It is important that we understand where patients are coming from. You know, one element is patients are in pain. People come in with ETOH. They're alcoholics and they come in under the influence. That happens quite a bit. We have people who have surgeries that aren't used to the pain that they have after surgeries. We have people who are psych patients, and whatever pain is expressed in these patients, um, we need to recognize that it is valid and it is important. And it's specific to those particular patients. I truly believe that we need to have the practice of empathy and having the ability to walk in one's shoes. Once we begin to realize what it's like to be in one's shoes, then we can understand how we can have a little bit of grace for those people and why they may be treating us in certain ways. In the same sense, we need to have the ability to practice gratefulness and grateful for our jobs, grateful that we do have a job. And when we look at our jobs in that way, then we can have a better understanding and provide much needed care. So I have an example of my pain patient that I wanted to talk about, which was my kind of enlightened experience in the part of the caring process. So there was a patient that I cared for that was really demanding on staff and really down on staff. And every time you'd walk into a room, she'd complain and she'd moan and say we weren't doing things right and run on and on and on. Well, one day I went in there and I just said to her, I listened and I just allowed her to and I basically just asked her, what can I do to make you better or make you feel better? And she actually broke down and kind of got emotional and stated that the reason why she acted the way that she did was because she was scared. So she was actually projecting how she felt on the inside to us on the outside by being scared. So this reflects my listening skills. I was able to allow her to speak to what her true needs were, was that to address where she was scared. So Watson talks about loving kindness. Loving kindness is a natural state of being and living, and that when we feel it fully, it brings us joy and peace to our lives and to those around us. When I think about this, I think about what are things that I can show to practice loving kindness? Do I smile to my patients? Do I practice the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have done unto you? Do I lift myself up? Do I lift my coworkers up? And do I lift my patients up? Do I encourage them to do well throughout the day? Those are the things that I think about when I think about practicing loving kindness. A term that I'm not really familiar with that I learned about in this course and in this Creatus process was the term equanimity. And that basically is what Watson states is the process of non-interference with what is. So that basically is like, here we are, and just being okay and not interfering with just our presence. And so I think about how am I affected by what is happening around me? How am I affected by call lights? How am I affected by doctors? How am I affected by so many things that we are affected by when we were in working in the hospital setting? So Watson talks about unpleasant sensations. And when I think about unpleasant sensations, I think about what is my response to patients who are demanding and verbally abusive? What is my response to doctors who belittle and talk down to staff? What is my response to management placing more demands and expectations? And what is my response to working short-staffed and not getting breaks? These are all unpleasant sensations that can really affect how we view and care. So my response to these elements, first I wanted to say that Watson states in her book, intentionally create equanimity in body or mind towards its subjective sensations, allowing whatever is there to be observed without interference. So my thought is to maybe create a Zen-like approach and that is centered. I often sometimes view myself with a shield around myself and I have blank facial expression. So when people are attacking me in verbally attacking me, like someone who is a psych patient, or if there's a doctor that's verbally getting on my case or whatever it is, I sometimes will just stand there and look at them and have like a blank face and then kind of think of myself having a shield in place that protects me from whatever they're saying. So I'm able to just be in the moment and not really be affected and not really respond. Um, and how I do respond is once their projections towards me happen, I am able to respond back to them. What can I do to make it better? How can we fix things and move forward to make you happy? And to show that I care that this element or whatever is being fixed, or that we're going to progress in a loving, caring, productive way. That has been a good tool that I have used in my nursing practice. So Watson also discusses pleasant sensations. When you apply equanimity to pleasant sensations without interfering, they too flow more readily and easily and offer deeper fulfillment. So one thing is that when successes happen, like when I do a success, that is acknowledged by a patient, I take that humbly, meaning I don't go around and tell everybody. I quietly accept accolades. When a patient expresses appreciation, I just allow myself to marinate it and silently be grateful. As a part of my job, I float around to different parts of the hospital, and I usually show up, and people are pretty grateful when I do show up because I'm fulfilling a need and a hole for that department. And so by recognizing in the same sense of being still and not responding or not reacting towards the unpleasant sensations. For the pleasant sensations, I can just marinate it, be grateful, be thankful, but not go over the top with those feelings and those sensations. And then finally, that is my presentation. Uh, Um, so caring of others begins with cultivating the practice of loving kindness and equanimity in ourselves. When this happens, we have the capacity to deliver high quality of care to others. So it would be my hope that when I learn these traits and these Caritas processes, then I am able to project and give more of myself in a loving, caring, kind way. And that concludes my presentation for this part of my class. And here are the references. And I can be available by email or anything else. Thank you very much.